Course in Miracles. Once again, here we are. Chapter 9, the acceptance of the atonement. And this is section 3, the correction of error, in which all of my errors are going to be corrected from all the videos that I've done so far. This is actually a really great chapter because it gets, it's all great. And it's all basically saying the same thing over and over again, but Jesus keeps taking you a little deeper and fleshes out things that he said earlier. This is like a fleshing out, and this section is particularly meaningful to me. I'll explain why later, but you know, we're dealing with the issues that the Course brings up, you know, every moment, but sometimes we're, you know, we it's more in our face because we're actually dealing with things that it's hard to let go. Can't just let go of that. And we got to do something about it. And we got to tell someone something. More on that after this. The correction of error. The alertness of the ego to the errors of other egos is not the kind of vigilance the Holy Spirit would have you maintain. Egos are critical in terms of the kind of, quote, sense, unquote, they stand for. They understand this kind of sense because it is sensible to them. To the Holy Spirit, it makes no sense at all. To the ego, it is kind and right and good to point out errors and, quote, correct, unquote, them. This makes perfect sense to the ego, which is unaware of what errors are and what correction is. Errors are of the ego, and correction of errors lies in the relinquishment of the ego. When you correct a brother, you are telling him that he is wrong. He may be making no sense at the time, and it is certain that if he is speaking from the ego, he will not be making sense. But your task is still to tell him he is right. You do not tell him this verbally if he is speaking foolishly. He needs correction at another level because his error is at another level. He is still right because he is a son of God. His ego is always wrong, no matter what it says or does. If you point out the errors of your brother's ego, you must be seeing through yours because the Holy Spirit does not perceive his errors. This must be true since there is no communication between the ego and the Holy Spirit. The ego makes no sense, and the Holy Spirit does not attempt to understand anything that arises from it. Since he does not understand it, he does not judge it, knowing that nothing the ego makes means anything. When you react at all to errors, you are not listening to the Holy Spirit. He has merely disregarded them, and if you attend to them, you are not hearing him. If you do not hear him, you are listening to your ego and making as little sense as the brother whose errors you perceive. This cannot be correction. Yet it is more than merely a lack of correction for him. It is the giving up of correction in yourself. When a brother behaves insanely, you can heal him only by perceiving the sanity in him. If you perceive his errors and accept them, you are accepting yours. If you want to give yours over to the Holy Spirit, you must do this with his. Unless this becomes the one way in which you handle all errors, you cannot understand how all errors are undone. How is this different from telling you that what you teach you learn? Your brother is as right as you are, and if you think he is wrong, you are condemning yourself. You cannot correct yourself. Is it possible then for you to correct another? Yet you can see him truly because it is possible for you to see yourself truly. It is not up to you to change your brother, but merely to accept him as he is. His errors do not come from the truth that is in him, and only this truth is yours. His errors cannot change this and can have no effect at all on the truth in you. To perceive errors in anyone and to react to them as if they were real is to make them real to you. You will not escape paying the price for this, not because you are being punished for it, but because you are following the wrong guide and will therefore lose your way. Your brother's errors are not of him any more than yours are of you. Accept his errors as real, and you have attacked yourself. If you would find your way and keep it, see only truth beside you, for you walk together. The Holy Spirit in you forgives all things in you and in your brother. His errors are forgiven with yours. Atonement is no more separate than love. Atonement cannot be separate because it comes from love. Any attempt you make to correct a brother means that you believe correction by you is possible, and this can only be the arrogance of the ego. Correction is of God, who does not know of arrogance. The Holy Spirit forgives everything because God created everything. Do not undertake his function or you'll forget yours. Accept only the function of healing in time because that is what time is for. God gave you the function to create in eternity. You do not need to learn that, but you do need to learn to want it. For that all learning was made. This is the Holy Spirit's use of an ability that you do not need, but that you made. Give it to him. You do not understand how to use it. He will teach you how to see yourself without condemnation by learning how to look on everything without it. Condemnation will not be real to you, and all your errors will be forgiven. All right. There's a lot to talk about here, and we're going to bring it down to earth into real life situations. I'll just say before going on, a friend, he knows who he is. I don't know if he's listening. I'm not going to name any names, but he was with his family this past weekend, and they were sitting around the dinner table, and they got into arguing and basically, going at it, as we do. And, Jesus is saying, just like Bill said to Helen way back when, 65, 1965, there's got to be another way. There's got to be a better way. Why do we need to fight? Why do we need to attack each other? Does that make any sense? And doesn't it just lead to bitterness and hurting each other, hurting ourselves? Doesn't it lead to, depression, and just escalates situations needlessly? Because as Jesus is telling us, there is another way. There's a better way. And it really comes down to you. Not everyone is going to take this way. Not everyone is looking for that. And you could say that in any given life moment, maybe it may be few and far between people that are seeking another way, a better way. And if you're listening to this and you're resonating with this, then you are one of those people. And what I said to my friend, not that I'm necessarily any better, I've been, a course student longer than he has. He just really got introduced to it. I said, if you are on this spiritual journey, if you're consciously on the spiritual journey, then it is upon you to take the high road. And taking the high road means learning how to speak to others in a way that they can hear, in a way that is not going to scare them, and is a way that is not going to make them afraid and attack, which is what we do. And Jesus here in this section is really addressing, and I had a situation today with, I'm not going to say who it was, but, I had a situation today where I honestly really wanted to tell this person off. And I wanted to just say, fuck you. Sorry, I gotta have a little humor here. I gotta amuse myself. But we all have that, right? We all have those moments, and maybe they're they last a while, where we get so enraged by how another person is treating us that we want to do the same to them, and it happens all the time, of course. And Jesus is reminding us it doesn't have to be that way, and we can master our mind. He doesn't use that language, by the way, but we can see as the Holy Spirit sees, and that is to not see a problem, to always see the glass as half full versus half empty, or maybe that there is no glass. That there's no problem. And this everything, as Jesus says in another place in the Course, everything is either an extension of love or a call for love. If someone is mistreating you, take the high road, and that is, remember, be compassionate. Remember that they are hurting, and they just like you, and they're acting out from their wounding, which they may not be as conscious of, and maybe they are, though. Maybe they're conscious, and maybe they don't care. Maybe they're even more enlightened than you are. Like they're acting out, and they don't care. They forgive themselves, right? You don't know. You really don't know. Who are you to judge? Who is anyone to judge? A lot of times we think, well, I'm more enlightened than this person, right? I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. I've been on the spiritual journey. I make conscious choices, conscious decisions. But who are you really to judge what's going on? You don't really know. But what you can do is you can be the witness, and you can be as the Holy Spirit is, which is to not see that there's a problem, not see that this person needs your help or your salvation, or needs your judgment or your correction, as Jesus puts it here. Rather, the real correction is to see as the Holy Spirit sees, which is, again, there's no need for correction. You accept, as Jesus says here, you accept your brother as they are. You don't need to change them at all. There's nothing wrong. Why is there anything wrong? Who are you to say there's something wrong? That's the ego. That's the arrogance, as Jesus says here. That's the arrogance of the ego. God does not know of arrogance, which also means the Holy Spirit, which is the Holy Spirit being the memory of God, the voice for God, that is in all of our minds and hearts. And let's see, he says something very interesting here too that I want to read. You will not, if you to perceive errors in anyone and to react to them as if they were real is to make them real to you. So you make, when you react to the errors of another, you actually make your own, you tell yourself that, you learn what you are trying to project onto them, you reinforce that in yourself. You will not escape paying the price for this. Not because you are being punished for it, but because you are following the wrong guide and will therefore lose your way. Okay, so let's just take, you curse someone out, or you say, you get angry and attack them, and they attack back, right? Or whatever, or they don't, it doesn't matter, but you attack. So, you're going to have to undo that. You followed the wrong guide. You followed the ego. Because you follow the ego, then you're going to have to undo the ego if you want to get back on track, so to speak. And that may involve some, for you, it may feel hard, and you may have some kind of trial as a result of that. That's not a punishment, Jesus is saying. That is the result of following the wrong guide. And you will keep experience that kind of, you could say the trials and tribulations that come with following the ego, until you realize that you don't want that. You don't want to keep going through that again and again and again and again. And that's where, Jesus talks in the end about learning. Learning is something that was made by the ego. Everything in this world is. But the Holy Spirit can use learning to bring you back to God. And so the learning in the Course is really the unlearning the ego, and the acceptance of the atonement, which is, again, the principle. The atonement principle is that separation from God never happened, and we are not separate even now from God. We are still one with God. Nothing has ever changed, and it is only the illusions and the veil that we have accepted of the ego that has clouded our vision and kept us thinking that we are separate, but we're not. And we're not separate from God, and we're not separate from each other. And as soon as we judge another in any way or attack them, judgment is an attack, right? We judge ourselves, and we will pay the price. As Jesus says, we're going to pay the price for that, not because it's a punishment, but because we have followed the wrong teacher, and we have to get back on track to get back home again. It's like that song. I'm going to do a separate video on this song by Supertramp, Take the Long Way Home. He keeps saying in the song, take the long way home, take the long way home. But he's not really saying take the long way home. He's saying, go ahead and take the long way home if you want, but you don't have to. Why would you want to take the long way home? That's crazy. But aren't we all crazy? Here we're all insane. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. So anyway, I hope this was a little bit helpful. And you can always let me know. I notice I'm not getting too many comments on these videos. I know some people are watching them. I would always love to hear your feedback. Not that it matters, really. I do welcome and I value your feedback, but if no one gives me any feedback, that's okay. And I'm happy to do these videos, and it helps me. It's helping me to understand the Course in a deeper way, and also hopefully to be a better presenter of the Course and share of the Course. And see you next time. Next time on Course in Miracles Read and Discuss, we will be doing Section 4, the Holy Spirit's Plan of Forgiveness. And you might have noticed that in that section, Jesus starts talking about forgiveness, which he hasn't really talked about a whole lot, up until now. And now he's going to start talking about forgiveness in this next section more. Okay. Adios.